we are returning to the issue of Brexit, not just this Irish backstop, the longer transition period, but, well, what's going to happen in the future for us? Let's talk about this with Conservative MP, former International Development Secretary Priti Patel. Good morning to you.
Julia, good morning.
Good morning. Now, it's quite interesting. There's been a lot of talking about what's stopping us getting to Brexit, and we'll come on to that in terms of transition periods and backstops and the like. But can I just read you a quote from a man who would probably be, certainly if he was arguing for the Ramona side of things, would certainly be all over the front pages and all over the BBC. This is a chap by the name of David Folkers-Landau. He's the chief economist of Germany's biggest bank, Deutsche Bank. This is what he had to say yesterday on Brexit. He said the UK will do just as well or better. The UK economy has in its genes to do well. To be innovative, it doesn't have this bureaucratic construct that the Europeans struggle with, and it's got flexible exchange rates. According to the chief economist of Deutsche Bank, we're going to do just fine. So why are we constantly hearing all this doom and gloom about Brexit?
Well, I think you've got to ask some of the doom and gloom mongers, and I saw his clip yesterday as well on television where he was exactly making the point that some of us Brexiteers have been making. We have flexibilities and economic freedoms. We're not shackled to many of the fiscal alignment and institutions across the European Union and the Eurozone in particular. And of course, it is really important, Julia, that, it is important that we leave in an orderly fashion on March the 29th next year. And it's crucial there's a smooth path to a future trading relationship. Business needs that, our country needs that. But all we have heard, and I remember being on your show about 3 or 4 weeks ago at Party Conference, all we still keep hearing is regressive doom and gloom scenarios, which are simply not true, because you know what? Business will still continue. I was in Southampton yesterday visiting the port there, a port where over 90% of their business is with countries outside of the EU. So, we have so much actually that's not just positive, but just factually we're just getting on and doing things. I spoke to many businesses yesterday too. So the reality is I think just the government now needs to almost reset its language, reset its, broad checkers plan, reset its engagement with the European Union, with Brussels, and actually just be very clear now that there is an opportunity for a reset and that Brexit isn't a damage limitation exercise. We need to get on and deliver what the people voted for.
Well, let's talk about something that you are campaigning for, and that's in terms of a cut to air passenger duty. The Chancellor, Philip Hammond, is going to deliver his budget on the 29th of October, so just 10 days' time. What do you want him to do?
Well, look, I'm a real free marketeer, and I've been very pro tax cuts for, virtually all my political life, and particularly on air passenger duty. I've campaigned on this previously before going into government too. We should now look at the distortionary and negative impacts this tax has on tourism, trade, employment, but also on smaller regional airports in the north of England and Northern Ireland. And I think Britain post-Brexit, we have the chance to almost have a renaissance of the region, stimulate economic growth around the country, support regions, airports and businesses, and start growing new routes with more viable and lower viability thresholds in terms of taxation. APD is regressive. It has an impact in terms of wages, salary. It's a tax. People pay more for their flights. So actually just being more open-minded, really reducing or even freezing or cutting APD would be a really good start.
And we do actually have the highest air passenger duty, again, a tax on flying of the entire EU.
Well, that's absolutely true. That is right. And it's gone up and up and up. It was introduced in 1994 to, believe it or not, address perceived under-taxation of the aviation sector. Now, quite frankly, passenger transport was zero rated for VAT, but fuel is, we all know the impact of sort of VAT, but taxation on travel. So now is a time, particularly post-Brexit, and there have been many reports that have shown that if you abolish APD, you could create 40,000 new jobs over the next 30 years in Northern Ireland. The economic impact that this would have across the country would be positive. And I think, now is the time to be much more open-minded in terms of reducing APD. I doubt we'll hear positive language of scrapping it. The ambition should be to outright abolition, but in the medium term, a reduction provides the opportunity to assess the merits of an expanded route network, gains in employment, and obviously a bit more money, to be blunt, in people's pockets.
But yes, but also that also means less money in treasury coffers, and at times of austerity, we're told there's possibility we're going to see, income tax rises, business rates going up. Is that air passenger duty? Is that a priority? A lot of people would say, well, it's only the rich people who can afford to fly most of the time anyway.
Well, of course, that's not true, is it? I mean, it's absolutely not true. If you look at our regional airports, if you look at low-cost airlines, their passenger numbers are growing. And I think if we want to be open as a country for tourism, for business, you get even more. Lower taxes, you get more revenues coming in. But you've made an important point in terms of the A word, austerity, not a word that I think, really reflects the true fiscal situation in this country. To govern is to choose, Julia. People have to make choices. Governments have to make choices. And I'm not pro-tax increases. And in fact, lower taxes, a low-tax economy actually stimulates more growth, more investment, and more tax revenues. And that's really where I sit in terms of this argument. It should not always be about increasing taxes. We should do more, government should do much, much more to stimulate investment, to diversify its tax and revenue base, and not just say, let's just put a set of taxes up constantly again and again and again. That is not the answer.
Okay, well, let's talk about what is the answer when it comes to Brexit generally. French President Emmanuel Macron has said overnight that the issue of Brexit is no longer a technical issue for the EU. That can all be agreed. It's a political issue for the UK. Again and again, we've had EU leaders say, look, we don't even know what it is that the UK wants. The Prime Minister has suggested many months more, even a matter of months more, even a whole year extra added to the transition period. We've already talked about the Irish backstop and all of that issue with the DUP already on this show this morning. But what is it that is stopping us coming to a deal? And do you think that the Prime Minister will get a deal? And if she doesn't get a deal, do you think we have a risk of no deal?
Well, look, I think crystal ball gazing is a mug's game, and I think we're at the stage now, we need to get our skates on with March next year really coming forward. I think it's political. I really do, and I've always said this. The art of doing a deal, there are many ways in which this deal or negotiation could have set a different course by being much more specific, much more bolder, dare I say, much more braver, Julia, with the EU and being very firm with them. Our problem is that we put concession after concession on the table, faffed around, basically. We are now getting to March. We've got this commitment on the Irish border. You've already discussed it as well. But we need to get on. And actually, I think with the European Union, if they want to have that, if they want to remain friendly neighbours, have that special relationship, that's Theresa May's language, then we don't need a meaningless extension that would leave the UK subject to EU rules and paying into the EU budget while we have no say on how our taxpayers' money. I think we should now be at the stage, probably Margaret Thatcher's the last leader to do this, where she literally said, we want our money back. And actually, we don't want your rules. And if you don't want to work with us, then, go for no deal. And it's interesting to hear the language now from the European Union over the last few days, certainly since the summit's taken place, that they themselves are hinting at no deal. And this government needs to ensure that it's done all the preparation and not bluff about this anymore. We keep hearing about no deal notices or a bit of preparation and spreadsheets being produced and published. It's not about spreadsheets being produced and published. They need to ensure that every aspect, of our country, not just our economy, but our ports, our borders, that all the checks, all the measures, all the detail has been done. Because quite frankly, if we do get to March next year and there isn't an agreement, then, that's what we should turn around and say. We're going to leave regardless.
Can I ask you also, one of your colleagues, Johnny Mercer, is also sitting on the Conservative benches. He's done an interview with the House magazine, and he said that basically if he wasn't a Tory MP, he wouldn't vote Tory. And he said that this government is a word beginning with S, very short, ending in T, and then show. Words I can't say out on air. I'm asking you, do you agree with Johnny Mercer?
Well, I was with Johnny the other day, actually, in a very important debate in Parliament where he spoke well. He spoke very well. He feels passionately about people's life chances. And he wants.
Do you agree with him?
Ladder of opportunity. Look, those are Johnny's views. They're not my views. My views are very different. I think the Conservative government since 2010 has achieved a lot whether it's on welfare, whether it's on the economy, getting people back into work. Those are Johnny's views. They're not the views that I hold.
Okay.
You know, being in politics is frustrating, but we have to work hard internally to try and drive the change that we want to see.
Okay, just finally, on the issue of international affairs, you were International Development Secretary. We have seen this extraordinary events playing out in Istanbul, the Turkish capital, after the murder, it would appear, of Jamal Khashoggi, a Saudi journalist, critical of the Saudi regime, appears to have been murdered in the presence of the Saudi consul, who's now returned to Saudi Arabia. Donald Trump seems to have finally got on board with the idea, after his Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, has actually met with the Turkish authorities and the Saudis, that actually a murder has taken place. In terms of what the government should do now, when we had, of course, the Skripal poisonings here in the UK, we expected mass diplomatic expulsions across the country from all of our allies. What should Britain do in response to what is perceived to be basically state-sanctioned murder on another country's soil?
Of course. I mean, this is just atrocious, absolutely atrocious. And I think, there are no eyes that the entire world are watching Saudi Arabia right now. I think from our perspective as well, we do have the opportunity to show some strong leadership internationally. And we've got to start asking some very, very significant and serious questions. And I think, working with our allies, whether it is, and it's nothing to do with our membership of the European Union, we are allies internationally when it comes to big institutions, Security Council, P5, all within the international community. We really need to, like we have done with Russia, call out, what is just so appalling in this day and age. This isn't even, just breaches of the international rules-based system. This is just completely behaviour that has taken place. Obviously, questions need to be asked and answered. And I think, we've got to start holding representatives from Saudi Arabia to account, yes, in this country, but obviously in their own country too.